A lot of the Thais, because they're going to get a better payday, it's moving towards one championship. I mean, you got, I think, Nong O is over there, Superlek, both these girls, Wonder Girl, Supergirl. I mean, it's really, that's kind of where they've transitioned to. As yourself, when you're going through, this career path, what do you eye towards? Now, clearly, I understand you're probably not looking towards UFC and MMA, I'm assuming. Do you have your eyes on one? Is that an option?
It's an option, but again, I always look at the whole environment and spectrum of what is happening, and that's at the end. It's like my last year in fighting, last 2 years in fighting. I want to grab all the organizational titles. WBC is up right now. Then I'll grab the WMO. Then I'll grab the WMC. And then you go, okay, what's left? One championship is the big one. That's what's left.
How old are you now?
I just turned 30.
Oh, so you're like right in that.
I am. I lost 3 years of my prime because of COVID, unfortunately.
But so did everyone else. So it's like, yeah, it's okay to like, it's almost like the whole industry went on hold. So it's not like some others got to take off while you were on pause. But yeah, 30 is like, I mean, as a fan of this sport, like, I mean, what's his name? Liam Harrison was fighting Nong O. He blew his knee out the other day, but I think he's making a comeback as well. And he's got to be 36. So that whole age, like over the next, do you have your roadmap for the next 3 years, which I would assume is probably get through that? And your prime is, well, everyone has a different prime, but usually they're saying like 32, 33 is really when you're in your prime.
I'm hitting that maturity when it comes to not just fighting in the ring, but the mental side of things, of how to balance personal life and relationships and business and everything that comes with fighting. It's not just getting inside of the ring. I know a ton of guys that are super talented, but their home life is a wreck, and they're getting into training, they're not focused, or they're getting into the fight and things are just not clicking because their mind is somewhere else. Like other things can weigh you down or make you feel like you don't deserve this, like you're not confident enough. And that's what I feel like I've really learned, especially over these last 3 years. I've been able to kind of take this like third person point of view at my whole career and look at the times where I was really successful, the times I failed, and put it all together. I could never take that step back to see it from the outside because I was so busy fighting. Before COVID came, I fought 13 times in 13 months. For a guy my size, that's really busy, above 77 kilos, and at the time it was like, okay, I'm done with the fight. What's the next fight? There's no really time to like step back, breathe, and just assess, especially objectively, because you have to have your mind clicked into this mode of like, I need to win this next fight. So you will lie to yourself to make yourself feel better. So when you step into the ring, you can perform at your full potential. You don't have time to break yourself down, tell yourself, man, this isn't working really well. Like, what if he catches me with this? Because then usually that's what happens. You don't have the time to really make those huge changes.
Or even reflect back on a fight, which, I mean, you have so many different variables that go into training, not just your diet, but like you said, your relationships. And probably a big part that people undermine is the reflection of your previous fights, because you just don't have time to reflect.
And it's also emotional, right? Like you finish the fight, you're kind of connected to it emotionally for a little while because you remember the feelings and everything that happened within it. Maybe you and that other person had exchanged some words and you still feel some personal type of connection to it. But 2-3 years down the line, I forget half the fights, but the parts that I remember are the ones that are really objective. So I'm like, oh, when I was competing 77 kilos, man, like every 77 kilo fight that I had, I end up seeing that I'm not performing to my potential. Like when I'm looking at the person in there, I don't remember that guy because he's performing at like 50% of what he's capable of. Oh, when I'm fighting above 82, where I'm not killing myself to cut the weight and be a shell of myself, why am I getting hit by bigger guys and it's not having as much of an effect on me as it did at 77? And you need all those fights and a lot of experience to be able to see the patterns and to make those correlations. When you only have a few fights, you can't really make those correlations. And having those 3 years in COVID to take a step back and assess those things, I was able to see, like, every time I do this, I perform well. Every time I do this, I don't. Okay, let's cut the fat on this side and let's double down on this. And that's what we've done.
If you enjoyed this content, we're doing 5 clips like this a week. If you want to watch the full podcast, click here.